All right, welcome everybody to Principles of Marketing, Chapter 10, Place and Development of Channel Systems. It's the final chapter of the semester. It's been a long semester, so we'll finish this up, wrap this up, and let me go mark all the grades. Let's talk about place development and channel systems. So after tonight, we'll try to understand what product classes suggest about place objectives, understand why some firms use direct channel systems while others work with intermediaries and indirect systems, understand how and why marketing specialists develop to make channel systems more effective, understand how to develop cooperative relationships and avoid conflict in channel systems, know how the channel members in vertical marketing systems shift and share functions to meet customer needs. In addition, we'll try to understand the differences between intensive, selective, and exclusive distribution, know how multi-channel distribution and reverse channels operate, know the main approaches firms use to reach customers in international markets, understand important new terms, which is always good. So, place. So, summary of the overview. Place is the part of the marketing mix that deals with making goods and services available in the right quantities and locations when customers want them. Key issues. Number one, this is the first of 3 chapters that will examine place, channel of distribution. This is defined as any series of firms or individuals participating in the flow of products from producer to final user or consumer. So it's basically the entire ecosystem. Among the key strategy decisions are areas in distribution are: number one, the organization must develop objectives for the place. What is important as far as place is concerned? Welcome, Ari, to the show. There must be a choice of the type of channels, such as direct to customer or indirect involving intermediaries. Channel specialists create value by helping firms deal with discrepancies and assortments through regrouping activities. We'll talk about that. We will also consider different types of channel relationships and other strategy decisions, including how much sorry, I lost you here. How much exposure to have in the market when you use more than one channel for a particular target market, reverse channels of distribution when products need to be recycled or returned, which is very important, of course, and international market entry, which of course requires a lot of homework and understanding the market that you're getting into. Slide number 5, place decisions are guided by ideal place objectives. Customers may have different needs with respect to time, place, and possession as they make different purchases. Different levels of customer urgency, such as emergency products. We know it's quite comical, but it's true that anytime there's a hurricane, there's always a glut on beer. Everyone wants beer and plywood. It's interesting, and also, of course, flashlights, batteries, emergency flares, etc., etc. The place system is not automatic. More than one place arrangement may be appropriate or needed to reach different target markets effectively. Place decisions have long-run effects and are usually harder to change than those made for other components of the mix. In part, this is because other firms in the channel of distribution may carry out much of the place strategy. Gaining access to desired retail space or outlets typically involves a great deal of time and then is bound by contractual agreements. If you notice, you go to Home Depot or to Lowe's, you'll see that the more prominent brands have better top billing, as they say, better placement within the area where they sell tools. You'll see like the lower level brands, I'm not going to start naming brands here because then I'll get sued, but the lower level unsought brands are usually lower down on the shelf where you have to bend down and look for it, whereas the better brands are more visible. I mean, if you see that with Coke and Pepsi, they're always in front and center, whereas if you want to look for the off brands or the store brands, they're always in the aisles and it's hard to find. You'll find good displays in the middle where you see things, or in the aisle, in the front of the aisle where you see it better. Channel system may be direct or indirect. Marketing channels can be direct or indirect. Direct contact with customers helps a company keep abreast of market changes. Often this is a preferred way of handling place decisions. However, some products require the work of specialists to match producer output to user needs. Key issues to deal with: why a firm might want to use direct distribution to get better control over the whole marketing job. That's why they go direct. They might be able to serve target customers at a lower cost, cutting out all the fat. Also, wholesalers and retailers with different objectives may not meet the firm's needs, and as such, they will just go direct and bypass them. The internet also makes direct distribution easier for many firms, and of course, the ultimate example is cutting out the middleman is Amazon, having everything available to you straight up without you having to lift a finger. And that's why I think Amazon had such a stellar performance during the COVID crisis, because of the convenience of going straight to the customer and having the world as their oyster, and everyone just having access to Amazon and Prime and whatnot, making it a very, very easy way of shopping. I know, for example, my boss asked me to pick up some computer monitors. It was the easiest thing. It literally took me 3 seconds to do. Went on Amazon, found Amazon recommended brand, boom, bought it. It was easy, no problem. A firm having direct contact with customers is more aware of changes in customer attitudes. Making adjustments is often easier and faster because intermediaries are not involved, and sometimes suitable intermediaries are not available or will not cooperate. We move on, skipping slide 7. Actually, we can go to slide 7. This is about the Girl Scouts, Girl Scout cookies, a very, very popular item. A lot of people are into it. Many products are sold direct to customer. For example, the cookies sold by Girl Scouts featured in the ad might be sold directly. Key issues: Girl Scouts sell their cookies directly to customers, but one needs to know when and where a Girl Scout will be selling the cookies in order for that sale to initiate. So they create the cookie locator app for the iPhone, which helps you find the nearest Girl Scout cookie seller. Customers just enter the zip code, and it'll be directed to the nearest source of the tasty treats. Same thing with all the other apps. The Dunkin' app will tell you where the nearest Dunkin' Donuts is, Starbucks, etc. Direct marketing, direct communication between a seller and an individual using a promotion method other than face-to-face selling. Direct marketing is more concerned with promotion than it is with distribution. When indirect channels are best. So even if a producer would like to handle the whole distribution job, sometimes it's simply not feasible. You can't do it all. Key issues at hand: some target markets place a high value on convenience. In some product categories, customers trust a particular outlet to meet their needs. They are loyal. For instance, some customers only shop at Best Buy for TVs. I think there's much less loyalty now. I mean, that's an old example of Best Buy. I think a lot of people are very, very comfortable with buying things on Amazon now, especially with all the ratings and the fact that Amazon, the fact that Amazon makes it, 1 second please, and the fact that Amazon makes returning things so easy. By the way, you're breaking up. You sound very robotic. I would log out and log back in because I could not hear you. Indirect, also selling direct can involve significant investments in facilities like warehouses, retail stores, and information technology. Aaron, I believe you wanted to ask a question. Aaron, do you have a question? Okay, we'll pick it up and move on. Okay, that's not a problem. Channel specialists may reduce the discrepancies and separations. The assortment and quantity of products consumers desire may be different than the assortment and quantity of products offered by the producer. This is quite evident. I've given this example before. I believe it was 2008. I think Sony PlayStation came out with what was then the premier, correct me if I'm wrong, premier gaming system. Only problem was that they had a quantity discrepancy. They did not make enough units. I guess they made a mistake by estimating the true demand. The true demand was much higher than they anticipated. As such, as during the holiday season, it was very, very disappointing. There's nothing more disappointing than somebody coming home empty-handed from holiday shopping. And I believe as a result of that, I remember this myself, wanting to buy that device, couldn't find it. Even had a hard time finding the Wii, which was the runner-up, which actually became the main one that people were buying. I barely was able to even locate one of those, and I guess they also didn't make enough, but I guess they made enough of it so that it would make a splash in the market. But it's very important for these channel specialists to really understand what the true supply and demand is. So intermediaries may supply needed information to consumers and bring buyers together with sellers. Intermediaries can take the advantage of their understanding of customers to predict consumer needs and develop accurate demand forecasts. This information can reduce channel costs, smooth out production runs, and permit easier access to international markets. Intermediaries can help to rectify discrepancies of quantity and assortment. Discrepancy of quantity is the difference between the quantity of products it is economical for a producer to make. In other words, how much to make to have enough to make a good profit, not to have leftovers. Think of it as a caterer, not making more food, much more food than they need for a wedding, for bar mitzvah, for whatever, because if you have a lot of leftovers, it's not good. I love it when I go to a party and there are leftovers, just enough for the host to take home for themselves to enjoy, but not like tons of leftover food. Obviously, it's a waste of money. Discrepancies of quantity. Again, the difference between quantity of products is sorry, again, I'm just repeating this, I just lost my place. It is economical for producers to make, and the quantity that consumers or users really want. It's very, very important to keep in mind to make sure that you don't overproduce. Regrouping activities. Channel specialists adjust discrepancies with regrouping. Grouping activities are activities that adjust the discrepancies in quantity or assortment. We have a couple of terms over key issues to look at. Channel specialists adjust quantity discrepancies by accumulating and bulk breaking. What is accumulating? Accumulating is collecting the products from many small producers, okay, and putting them all together. Bulk breaking is dividing larger quantities into smaller quantities. Obviously, this is like the opposite of Costco, if you will. Several levels of channels may be involved. Wholesalers and retailers adjust assortment discrepancies by sorting and assorting. It's very important to have enough assortment because otherwise people will be bored. Sorting, separating products into the grades and qualities desired by consumers. Assorting, putting together a variety of products to give the target market what it wants. It's especially important, like in a grocery store, to make sure that you have a wide swath of breakfast cereals, for example, popular breakfast cereals that people want, different kinds of, even like going into going into a pharmacy and buying beer, making sure that there's a wide assortment of beers available. If you go to like a CVS, for example, you'll see they have all the popular brands, and it's easy to find. They have some wine coolers, and what makes it very popular, it's like a one-stop shop, and it's convenient because it has many different, it has a huge assortment to pick from. It's important for marketers to watch for changes needed in assortments and quantities as consumer needs change or as the marketing environment shifts. Okay, move on. Slide 12, channel relationships must be managed. Just as intermediaries are specialists in certain areas, there are also separate businesses that may not have the same objectives as the marketer of the product. Key issues to look at here is the marketing manager must choose the type of channel system to join or develop. The whole channel should have a product market commitment. All members must focus on the same target market at the end of the channel and share the various marketing functions in appropriate ways, and to make sure that the product gets from producer to end user. Traditional channel systems, members make little or no effort to cooperate with each other, which is not good. Channel specialization can lead to conflict that gets in the way. Vertical conflict is defined as a conflict between two firms at different levels in channel distribution, for example, as between a producer and a wholesaler. A horizontal conflict, which is something occurs between two firms at the same level of channel distribution, such as two retailers. Competition. Managing channel conflict. Some level of conflict is inevitable, if competition or even useful, if that is what it takes to customers at the end of the channel to receive better value. Most marketing managers try to avoid conflict that harm relationships with channel partners. Channel captain is a manager who guides channel relationships. The captain helps direct the activities of the whole channel and tries to avoid or resolve channel conflicts. Slide 13. Although producers typically like leadership positions in channels of distribution, powerful intermediaries may also serve as channel captains. In recent years, it's become more popular for intermediaries to take on this role. If you look at the exhibit over here, basically it illustrates an example of how a producer-led channel might operate. The producer develops the product and the price structure, but relies mainly on intermediaries to help with distribution and promotion, because without that, you're not getting anywhere. Wholesalers or retailers might also be channel captains, either because of their size or their proximity to consumers, getting it to them. They're right near the consumers. In this case, the intermediary takes on all of the place and promotion functions and part of the pricing and product functions for markup purposes. A retailer or wholesaler might get involved with the product and pricing by developing dealer brands. And of course, when intermediaries are large and wield channel power because of their size, they can influence the structure and process in the channel. Larger retailers also secure volume discounts from producers. Well, the channel is the entire system. It's the whole system getting, so in each part of the system there are different companies that deal with different things. Sometimes you'll have a few wholesalers involved. Sometimes there'll be no wholesale. It'll be going straight to the retailer. Like for example, Geico is an insurance company, goes straight, not to the retailer, but straight to the customer. There's not going to be a retailer in that situation. It really depends on the system, but there are employees at each level, and it's very important to mitigate any conflict. I mean, I've had this issue way back when, years ago, when I worked in the plumbing supply industry, where the supplier, whose name was Platsky at the time, I don't know if they're still in business, no idea, lost contact with them, would manage channel conflict. We would have two retailers that were bidding out pipes, for example, at a job site for a big customer, and that customer belonged to one and not the other. So Platsky would get involved and say, "Hey, you're stealing his customer. It's not right. We're not very happy that you're undercutting him. You're losing money on the deal. We're just breaking even. That's predatory. If you continue to do that, we're not going to give you the same rebates." The reason they did that is because it creates instability in the entire market. And instability basically leads to poor performance, poor delivery, and a whole host of other things. So, they were very important in keeping the peace. But also, I remember I got into trouble as a salesman because I went to try to sell to what I thought was a non-off-limit place, and they said, "Oh, we're not going to buy from you." I said, "Why?" Because we got better prices. I said, maybe I can give you a better price. What do you get? And then I got back to Platsky. Platsky wrote this email to my boss saying, "Hey, your salesperson Steve just tried to sell to one of our main customers, and that's not cool." Now, obviously, it wasn't my fault. I didn't really feel that my boss had my back on that, because he should have warned me. He knew that I was going out, and he should have told me, "Listen, check with me. Tell me who you're going to try to visit today, and let me know, so I could tell you don't go there because they're already taken." And again, only he would know that information because he was involved. He had been involved in that industry for years and years before I had come in as a newbie. To me, I just see a plumbing supply place. I walk in. I have no reason to believe that they're dating or they're married to somebody. There's no engagement ring on their finger or wedding band where I'm like, okay, hands off. There's a married person. I'm not going to try to court them. So it was very frustrating, but comes with the territory. Sometimes you get yourself into trouble. That's part of it. So characteristics of traditional and vertical marketing. I don't really want to go into the to the table over here. It's a little bit confusing. I want to focus here on the bottom, on the instructor notes, which are always clearer than the slides most of the time. Compared to a traditional channel in a vertical marketing system, the whole channel focuses on the same target market at the end of the channel. So everyone's commonly aligned in the same direction. Corporate channel system characterized by the ownership of each level of the channel by the same corporation, giving the appearance that the firm is going direct. Vertical integration, the buying of other firms by one member of the channel. Any level of the channel may become the acquiring corporation. Administered channel system, channel members informally agree to cooperate with each other. Such agreements typically cover producers to routinize ordering, standardize accounting, and coordinate promotion efforts, and of course making it easier for everyone. Sometimes you must have that cooperation. Without that cooperation, it's very difficult for anybody to make profits. So contractual channel system basically is defined as channel members formally agree, so where channel members formally agree to cooperate via contracts. Many popular franchise systems are examples of contractual channels. You think of your McDonald's and Burger King. Vertical marketing systems are a dominant force in the marketplace. In fact, they capture a majority of retail sales and should increase shares in the future, especially with better use of the internet, specifically with respect to social media marketing, which is of course super popular, super important. That's how we get exposure to everyone, because everybody has smartphones now. It's easy to, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's not shocking me. It would not be shocking to me if somebody told me that 80 to 85% of all Americans have smartphones. I'm actually going to Google that. Let's just see, just for my own curiosity. What percent? What percent? Let's just see. Okay. 85. All right. Percentage of U.S. adults who own a smartphone has more than doubled since 2011. Only 35% of all U.S. citizens, adults owned a smartphone in 2011, compared to 85% of adults who owned a smartphone as of February 2021. So that's pretty recently. That was pretty much on the money, 85%. The share of U.S. adults owning a smartphone increased by 50% over the highlighted period in this article. So that's tremendous. So now you see why it's so important to have social media marketing, because that is the street. That is the new street. That is where everyone sees things. So the best channel system should achieve ideal market exposure. And we have intensive, exclusive, and selective as our examples. Ideal marketing exposure makes a product available widely enough to satisfy target customer needs, but not exceed them. Too much exposure increases marketing costs. You're blowing away people when you don't have to, and such inefficiency is then detrimental to both the firm and the customers, who ultimately pay more for products. Key issues: intensive distribution, selling the product through all responsible and suitable wholesalers and retailers who will stock and or sell the product. Intensive distribution means sell it where they buy it. This exposure is particularly appropriate for convenience products, because consumers do not want to expend a lot of effort to find them. People want convenience. Selective distribution, selling only through those intermediaries who will give the product special attention. Selective distribution means sell it where it sells best. The exposure is typically associated with shopping products. Selective distribution can reduce costs and get better partners, and selective distribution can get special effort from channel members. Exclusive distribution is even more fine-tuned than that, means selling through only one intermediary in a particular geographic area. This sometimes makes sense, especially when dealing with specialty products or high-end products. Just think of Rolex. Where can you buy a Rolex? Anybody know? Sure, no. That's pretty much the main place. It's kind of like only having Ferrari dealerships in very, very limited areas. You'll have them out in Manhattan, let's say, or Long Island. You're not going to have them in the middle of Kings Plaza in Brooklyn. Why? It's very simple. Because Brooklyn is not the demographic for Ferraris. Even though there are people in Brooklyn that own them, but not many. I mean, just think of it. How many Ferraris in Brooklyn do you see? Tion, how many Ferraris have you seen running around? Exactly, but you don't see many. You'll see more Porsches, but even not that many of those either. I don't see as many Porsches as I used to. Very, very few. Yeah, the Cheyenne, right? Is that the Cheyenne? Is that pronounced correct? Yeah. Oh, you've seen Lamborghini SUVs? Really? Yeah. What's the price tag on those? $250? It's chump change for me. I make that in an hour. Sure. All right, let's skip a little bit here. Exclusive distribution is an area of consideration under U.S. anti-monopoly laws. Courts currently focus on the potential harm to competition and answering the question of, is limit market exposure illegal? I don't really think it is. You could expose yourself. It actually came out pretty bad. Expose yourself as far as marketing, any market you want, and just do it. Don't you know don't be bossed around. You can do what you want. I mean, I don't have to sell my product in an area where I don't think it's going to do well. I think it's a little bit too much, if you ask me. Horizontal arrangements among competitors are illegal. These arrangements exist among the firms at one level of the channel. They're considered to be collusion. It's kind of like when everyone gets together and says, okay, we're banding together and we're not letting anybody else enter. Vertical arrangements may not be illegal. These arrangements exist across different levels of the channel. Again, the channel is quite wide. The channel is the whole path the product gets from beginning to end. Courts weigh the possible good effects of these arrangements against the possible restrictions on competition. All right, so let's just move on. We're almost at the end of the, and again, this slide over here, 22, really hate the way it's put together. It looks pretty complicated. It's giving me a headache. So again, we're going to focus on the summary overview on the bottom pane. Channels of distribution can involve a complex array of relationships among many organizations. The exhibit above, which here it's 10.5, which looks extremely complicated, shows an example of a channel arrangement for a publisher of computer books. The book publisher must decide how to get its product to consumers. That's the first step. Different target markets may have different preferences for which channel they utilize. A book publisher may choose to sell books to consumers directly from its website. At the same time, the publisher may get there indirectly by using specialized wholesalers. That in turn sell to online bookstores independent bookstores and possibly electronic stores like Best Buy. Some large retailers may buy direct and not have the wholesaler intermediary. Multi-channel distribution occurs when a producer uses several competing channels to reach the same target market. They'll use several stores. Like Apple will use Walmart, the Apple Store, and we can put my phones, Best Buy, or they'll use Verizon, AT&T. Is Sprint still a thing? Are they still called Sprint for now, or are they called something else now? Sprint T-Mobile or Sprint Mobile? So are they better or are they worse? Oh yeah, to get Sprint's towers. Right. Ethical decisions may be required to deal fairly with all channel members across all channels. Environmental factors cause the development of reverse channels used to retrieve products from consumers, basically recycling, as far as, for example, recycling cell phones and whatnot. A comprehensive distribution strategy means that reverse channels must be planned in advance. New laws require reverse channels in some industries. Reverse channels are sustainable and profitable, and plan for reverse channels. Sometimes they want to basically recycle a phone and sell it to some third world country where someone can get it, or an old laptop, will fix it up, make it usable for someone else. So new laws require channels in some industries. Reverse channels are sustainable. Of course, plan for these reverse channels. Don't get sidetracked. The last slide, summary overview, basically entering international markets, which is Exhibit 10.6. All strategy decisions for place apply whether a firm is focused on its domestic market or pursuing target customers in international markets. Key issues at hand. What are the 5 basic ways to enter international markets? And again, I warn you that entering international markets is a very, very complicated endeavor. Exporting often comes first. Usually gets started by working with intermediaries. They're typically specialists in international markets, marketing, and the target country. Will help you with their specialized knowledge. Often allows a firm to test an international market with low investment of time and money. Licensing is often an easy way, and the license in the foreign market takes most of the risk because it must make some initial investment to get started. If good partners are available, this can be an effective way to enter a market. Managing contracting sales know-how, a relatively low risk approach to international marketing. It could be especially important in developing nations or ones where government is less stable. Joint ventures, sometimes this is the only way a firm can enter a new market because it can't do it alone. Direct investment involves ownership. It's a big commitment and usually means greater risk. And generally, as firms move from right to left, they gain, from direct investment to exporting. It's from my right to left. Basically, they gain control over the marketing, but they gain that at the expense of more risk and greater financial investment. Okay, so that is that, gentlemen. Thank you for listening to this class, and have a wonderful evening.